This is Binti Love now. Is this a teachable moment or a research moment? Hey guys, that's the 5.5 star review. I'm your host, Binti Love. Okay, so I'm going to be reviewing the memoir by Connie Chung. Yes. A brilliant book, and let's get into it. First of all, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. So why didn't I give it 5 stars? As a memoir, I felt though of a read, I'm gonna get into the 5.5 star review, guys, but I felt as though it was more, if it's called a memoir, I felt that she should be more a level of personal building was not present. When you say memoir, I thought that. And so, it's a brilliant book, but that's the only reason why I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Because I felt there was a level of personal building that's not there. It was not there for it to be a memoir. But, as a 4, and it's good. Okay, so point number 1. Let me comment and say that I love how she spoke and talked about her dad being a Chinese man in this country called America, having to work several jobs to take care of a family of 7 guys. Yes, 7. And how he instilled that work ethic in her. So I definitely thought that was beautiful. I thought that was great. And that's major, A lot of dads in this era of 2025 will never work all these jobs. Work several jobs to take care of a family of 7. They wouldn't even do it. So I thought that was great, and how she pointed that out. And how he instilled that work ethic in her. Because you're not born with a work ethic. It has to be instilled into you with family values and things of that nature from the parents or the people that help raise you. Yes. Now, point number 2, let me report that Connie speaks about her dealings with President Nixon and other news reporters covering the White House, and how it seemed very obviously funny and apparent that she seemed to cover all the Chinese stories and things happening in China. Yeah, okay. You're the Chinese reporter, so she covered everything in China. But I kind of get that, What I don't get is if all she covered was Chinese stories and she didn't just cover all American news, But I do get, if she's a Chinese person, let her cover the Chinese news. I don't see anything wrong with it. Again, if she only could cover the Chinese news, then I would see it as a problem. Yeah. She just basically said, she accepted that to be par for the course and things of that nature. But I think it's the only thing she can do is to say, okay, that's what they were doing and things of that sort, and that's how they thought, apparently back then. Yeah. Okay. Going on to point number 3. Again, it's a 5.5 star review. My criticism is that the book was sometimes very wordy. Like, like she felt a need to drop every big newsmaker's name to either impress the reader or not to forget to say someone else's name. Like she was scared of leaving someone out. Because she called it a memoir. I thought it'd be, again, I said, let it be more personable. But I feel she tried to be personable, but I felt that she, was basically, again, my criticism is my point right there, right? That it was kind of wordy and like she had to drop big names, or she thought she might leave someone out or something like that. And I felt that. I felt like, and so maybe, I don't know, she called it a memoir and that's what it is, but I didn't feel like it was a memoir. For me, a memoir means more personalness, and I don't feel that she exhibited that in the book, and that's why it's a 4 stars and not a 5. But again, that's the criticism. But there's a lot of good points in this book, and it's definitely a good read, and something to purchase and keep in your book collection here in your home. And so, definitely that, because I like that we were able to see the Chinese perspective here in America. And that's a big point that I really loved. How she spoke about her father, and to see that's the memoir to me. When she spoke about her family, and that's the insight. And I love doing these I love these reads, and I love doing these conversations, because I want to know, because America is such a collective, and we don't always get to understand or see, or to hear and be able to examine other people's points of views. So the memoir perspective was good with that. Her Chinese father. Okay. And moving on, point number 4, which is the MVP moment, is her ability to talk about race and the division concerning males versus females and their differences here in the workforce in America, guys, right? The need for affirmative action. Yeah. And as a mostly white male-dominated newsroom, she said it was kind of like a boys' club in these newsrooms, So I love, because I don't really hear about the Chinese perspective about race and division. Not only did she speak about race, but she spoke about male and female. And so I do think this is the memoir perspective for her book, where she speaks about this, from a Chinese perspective here in America. Not only race, but sexism here in the workforce here in America. A male-dominated newsroom, a white male-dominated newsroom. And she said there was a need for affirmative action at mostly white male domination newsrooms. Allegedly, this is my perspective. That she was saying it's kind of like a boys' club, Yes. And these newsrooms, right? Okay. Now, moving on to point number 5, the most loving moment. Now, again, guys, is the 5.5-star review. This is the Binti Love podcast. Now, the most loving moment is how she talked about her dad again, like I've said this through the whole review, right, guys? All right. and his dedication to his mother and their family. I love that. So we talk about it was spoken about the grandmother, her father's mother. And this is the intrinsic internal wealth. Because all wealth is not external, okay? A lot of wealth is internal. And the generational wealth is the teachings from the elders to the young people per generation. That's the real wealth. And so I love that that has happened, and and her family, where she can speak about generational wealth that's intrinsic, where as the real jewels are love, positivity, and strengthening the family internally, in a spiritual form. And so I noticed that with her when she spoke about how her father spoke about his mother, and I love that. And again, the only reason why I gave this a 4 out of 5 and out of 5 is because I thought that her she spoke too much about trying to name everybody that she knew in the book, but she called it a memoir, and I thought it should be more of the stuff there, speaking about her dad and blah blah this and blah blah that, right, guys? Okay, now is this a research or a teachable moment? And that's what I was trying to get to. Let's look at this, right? Let's take a look. This is Binti Love now. Is this a teachable moment or a research moment? Here at the Binti Love podcast, viewers try to guess which one it is with the Binti Love podcast. Is this a research moment or a teachable moment, guys? Okay. I think I kind of gave that away. But definitely think it's a teachable moment. And, the teachable moment is basically, if you write a memoir, in my opinion, it's more intrinsic. Now, I don't know if that's the right word, but that's what I'm trying to say. Where it's more of a look inside of your family relationships. It's more internal and not naming everybody that you knew that was rich or whatever like that. I'm trying to mention everybody. Yeah. And speak about that aunt that had no money, but always had a good word for you. Speak about that uncle that had no money. Yeah. But he always had a good word for you. And I think that was the difference. When it's a memoir, it's the people that we didn't even know they exist, but you knew they existed, and it's called a part of the family tree. And that's the only reason I was saying that. If she calls it memoir, let it be a memoir, and be more of those type of situations, and get more into it. So I hope if Connie Chung ever writes a second memoir, she'll go more deep into the history of China, where father, I don't know who's still here. Connie Chung is of a certain age, right? But to speak about the people that are not seen that are there helping you along, and I think that's more of a memoir, and focus more on that. And that's the only reason why I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. But it's definitely a brilliant read, guys. It's definitely a brilliant read, and I do suggest that you read it to see another perspective of America. Yes. Okay. Again, it's a 5.5 star review. Make sure you make love your guiding force and subscribe.